Big news coming out of LSU's season opening loss to Florida State was Tiger star receiver Kayshon Boutte scrubbing his Instagram account of all mentions to LSU after the game. Chris, you follow this program closely. What do you think is the issue here? And why did one of the nation's best receivers, who most of us projected to be an All-American type candidate this season, only have 2 catches in Sunday night's first game?
Well, that's a 2022 story if I've ever heard one, Brad. We go to the Instagram scrubbing to see how Kayshon's feeling after the game. But honestly, you probably didn't need that. You could see it on the sidelines just watching the game. He was quite unhappy with how the game went about and kind of how it played out for him. He only had 6 targets last night, which is the fewest he's had since his true freshman season, about midway through that at LSU. And when you're one of the best receivers in football, I think you expect to get fed a little bit more. I know you're going to go in depth about what went wrong, but I think a lot of that had to do with pass protection and maybe some inconsistencies with Jaden Daniels. But to answer probably the looming question here, Kayshon can't go to the portal. Like, the portal is closed based on some recent rule change. So that's not an option for him. If he's unhappy, he either just has to stay at LSU through the year, or given his stature, he could potentially declare for the NFL draft early. I don't know if that's the impression you want to leave on NFL scouts on your way out the door. I would be surprised if that's the route he goes. But those are his 2 options if he really doesn't want to stay at LSU. And I know that's what everybody's going to be talking about after somebody scrubs their Instagram.
Yeah, I think his lack of involvement last night really revolves around, having no rapport yet with Jaden Daniels, transfer quarterback from Arizona State. Jaden arrived in May. These guys have only practiced during fall camp together. That's it. LSU's pass protection, as you mentioned, was so bad last night that Boutte couldn't really get into his routes all that much. And then he sort of seemed out of it. After those first 2 series, Chris, I don't think he had a single target until late in the second quarter. Didn't have his first catch, I think, until that 4th down in the second half. Had 2 catches for like 20 yards, just really not involved much. But if you remember, Daniels threw him a slant pass at the goal line in the second quarter, and it was like Kayshon wasn't even looking for the football. So I hate to speculate on a kid's future here, but as a potential first-round pick in next year's draft, playing for a team as a star, likely headed toward a 6-6, 7-5 type finish, I think it's justifiable to think, it could be a possibility that Kayshon either sits out or just decides that, I'm going to start preparing for the NFL now.
Yeah, and I haven't checked anybody on this program this morning as of yet, but it's certainly a storyline to watch. And Kayshon thought about transferring this offseason. He said it himself. Like, he was somebody, like, transfer portal wise, I expected to go in the portal once Ed Orgeron left. That was a huge rumor in college football. He ended up staying. Brian Kelly's actually called him out this offseason publicly for his effort. It's been a really weird situation with Kayshon. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll be very curious to see how that plays out the next couple days and maybe a couple weeks, because take everything aside, he's one of the most talented receivers in college football, and it would be a real blow for LSU if he isn't living up to his potential this year for the program.
Yeah, very interesting to watch heading into week 2 in Baton Rouge.